briefly through, as you traveled through Europe to get to the ship, could you talk about some of the dangers that existed for you as you traveled and what you did and how you got all the way to the steamship without being captured?
Well, once on the train, the only control is train control. As I said, Austria had been annexed by Hitler, so there was no more control there. And crossing the Italian border, they looked at me as a kid and did not bother me. With the little money I had in Italy, all I could pay for was the taxi to take me to the philatelic stamp dealer, and later on I was left with the equivalent of about $2 on board. The $2 were used by me to buy cigarettes later on. As somebody explained to me, I could sell those cigarettes at a higher price. In ports, once we left the ship, I did that eventually until the guy who worked the sale of cigarettes at the bar on the ship got wise to it and said no more sale of cigarettes before we hit any port. So that ended for me about in Panama, where I later found out cigarettes were even cheaper because there was no tax. It was the American Panama concession, the Panama Canal. Then when I went, eventually, when I ended up in Bolivia, I met a friend who was there with his parents, and he put me in touch with the joint committee, which we called Hilfsverein, who told me that the visa which I had was good for 30 days, and the government did not want anybody with no legal visa in their country, and the only possibility for me to stay would be to go in the jungle to colonize. Well, I had no idea what that was all about, and said, sure. So they bought me a shirt, a khaki shirt, a pair of Jodhpur riding pants, a pair of boots, high boots, and a big straw hat, and told me they would take me down by plane. The plane was a converted DC-3 with no seats. A group of about 12 people sat on the side, and when we landed and stumbled out of the airplane, I was told, all right, from now on you travel by mule. There was another day and a half. You slept on the ground in the meantime. And when we got there, we were assigned to some people, which in my opinion were criminals who had fled Europe, Italians mainly. And they said, okay, from tomorrow on we'll teach you, you work with us. The work consisted mainly of destroying whatever grew, and everything grew. You could take a piece of wood, stuck it in the earth, and there would be leaves a few days later. So we started whacking away on trees with machetes that we got there. And about 3-4 weeks later, I suddenly started falling down. They took me, and I had a fever. There were no doctors around there. They were about a day and a half away by muleback. What I actually had gotten was a hepatitis attack. So they treated me with local with what the Indian use there.